Now, Barrington is one of the most expensive and most in-demand towns in Rhode Island, but here's what most people don't realize. You're not just paying for a house here, you're paying for a very specific lifestyle. And if it fits you, it really fits. But if it doesn't, well, you're gonna feel it pretty quickly and it's just not gonna be the right spot for you. So in this video, I am breaking down what actually makes Barrington different from every other town in Rhode Island, the pros and cons nobody actually really says out loud, what it actually costs to live here, how the neighborhoods compare, and what the real estate market is actually doing right now in 2026. Hey there, I'm Jess Powers. I'm a full-time real estate agent and I know how to help you figure out where you actually want to land, not just what looks good online. In Barrington, well, it's always frequently on the short list for a lot of buyers, so let's jump in right now. So first, where is Barrington and why does the location matter? Well, Barrington sits in Bristol County on East Bay. That's the side of Rhode Island right alongside Narragansett Bay. Now in real life, that means it's about 20 minutes to Providence. It's about 45 minutes down to Newport. It's about an hour and a half to get to Boston, depending on the traffic. You've got direct access right along Route 14, which runs all the way through Barrington and all the way down into Newport. But here's an important nuance that you've got to keep in mind. Buyers don't always really realize this right away. East Bay living means bridges. So if you're commuting during peak hours, heading into Providence or past Providence, that means dealing with the mess that can be the Washington Bridge fiasco. Now, if you are remote or hybrid, it matters a lot less. But if you're doing that driving daily, it's definitely something that we want to plan around from day one. So now let's talk about what Barrington actually feels like, because this is where it really separates itself. Barrington is more polished. It's not flashy. It's coastal, but it is not seasonal. It's quiet, it's stable, it is very family focused. This is not Newport edgy tourism. This is not Providence nightlife. Weekends here look like kids' sports, walking down to the water, checking out the beach, backyard barbecues, grabbing coffee, running into the same people every single day. It's a live your life town, not a visit for the weekend town. And frankly, the lifestyle here is a huge part of the draw. One thing I really love about Rhode Island is that each individual area has a completely different feel to it. Now, East Bay is completely different than South County, which is completely different than Western Rhode Island, which is vastly different from Metro Providence. But it's still all about 20 or 30 minutes away, so figuring out where you fit in can be challenging. But with a few conversations, I can typically get a pretty good idea and get a sense of what's important to you and be able to match that up to you with the areas that are gonna feel right for you. Now, as someone that grew up in the Midwest, this is a novel idea. You know, drive an hour and everything is still the same. But here, you drive 15 minutes, maybe even less in Rhode Island, and you are in a vastly different area, a completely different vibe, and I love that. Okay, so back to what's great about Barrington. Now, I love the bike path. The East Bay bike path runs straight through town, and it's not just for show. People actually use it every single day, walking, running, walking their dogs, obviously biking, and it connects Barrington to Bristol and then all the way up toward Providence. Now from start to finish, it's nearly 15 miles long. Now homes near the bike path, well, those are always high demand. I think it would be really great to live right near the bike path. Now there are a lot of parks in Barrington, but one of my favorites is Haynes Park, which is a major community hub. You've got farmers markets, you've got events, there's things like the Fiddle and Folk Fest in the summertime. It's about 100 acres and the bike path goes right through it. The Barrington Town Beach is another great feature in Barrington, especially for families with littles. There's calm water, there's easy access, and it really becomes part of your routine, especially in those warmer months. Now, if you live in Barrington, you can get a resident parking pass, which is pretty amazing. And then of course, you've got the everyday lifestyle moments. You've got walking to grab ice cream, shopping at a local coffee shop, quick runs to Shaw's, bumping into neighbors. It's simple, but that is exactly the appeal of Barrington. Now, why do people choose Barrington over everywhere else? Well, number one is the schools. Barrington consistently ranks among the top public school systems throughout Rhode Island, and for many buyers relocating from out of state, this is a deciding factor. People will stretch their budget to get into this town because of that. Number two is stability. It's not a flip in 5 years kind of market, or at least it wasn't until the past few years, but for the most part, people move here and they stay. And when you look at the numbers, that story is very clear. Back in 2016, the median home price was $385. By 2020, it was just under $500. Then things really accelerated. In 2021, it hit $585, 2022, $680, 2023, $710, and 2024 peaked at $755. In 2025, we actually went down slightly at $750. So prices have nearly doubled over the last decade. But don't let that last year's stat fool you. We are not in a decline. This has more to do with the lack of inventory than anything else. We're in a more stable market, but it is still extremely competitive. Properties that are priced right will go under contract still within the first week or two. So you have to make sure that you're prepared, you know what you're looking for, you know what area you want to be in when you enter that Barrington market. So let's talk about the pros and the cons realistically, and then I'll jump more into those real estate numbers. So the pros are pretty clear. You've got top tier schools, strong long-term property value, coastal lifestyle without that touristy chaos. It's very safe, it's very community driven, but the cons, well, you are paying for all of that. Barrington has a high price per square footage. Inventory is extremely limited. I recorded this video at the end of March and there are only 14 single family homes available. Now, of course, I expect inventory to increase. The prime months to sell are April, May, and June, but no matter what time of year you're looking at homes, there's just not a lot that's available. Now, additionally, much like most of Rhode Island, our housing stock is older. You've got colonials, capes, mid-centuries, and many may need updates. New construction is rare. Those lots were sold a long time ago. And if you're someone who wants walkability to restaurants, to nightlife, or that more dynamic environment, well, Barrington is gonna feel kind of quiet. Yes, you have that quaint little downtown area with some places that you can walk to. It's pretty sleepy though. And also, if you are commuting to Boston every day, that is a real commitment. So let's talk costs, because this is where expectations need to be very clear. At a median sale price of $750,000, this is not really entry-level first-time homebuyer market. Realistically, you've got to be in the high 600s to 700s. Those are going to be smaller homes, maybe something that needs work. If you're in the price range of 800 to $1 million, those are going to be more move-in ready homes with strong locations. Now, 1 million plus, those are going to be your waterfront or your premium neighborhoods. Now, the highest sale price last year was $8.6 million. That was an outlier. Most of those high-end sales are going to be in that 1.3 to 1.8 budget. Now, budget under 700,000, that's going to be a challenge. Now in Barrington, you're not just buying a house, you are buying the schools, the location, that long-term stability. And one more thing buyers don't often think about right away is property taxes. You have to account for property taxes increasing. Barrington is not the lowest tax town in Rhode Island, and because homes are a higher value, your monthly costs are going to reflect that. Taxes in Rhode Island are high no matter where you live, so make sure you understand that. And another thing to note is if the online data lists the prior year's assessment, you need to make sure that you inquire about the current valuation. Many towns saw huge increases, as in Providence, we had 50 to 60% assessments that increased dramatically. So if you're not looking at the right assessment, you might not be looking at the current property taxes. Now let's get into neighborhoods, the nitty-gritty, because this is where Barrington really starts to vary depending on your lifestyle and also your budget. So starting with Nyack, this is one of the most prestigious areas in town. You've got waterfront properties, larger homes, quiet streets, a very refined coastal feel. Prices here exceed $1 million and they go well beyond that. Inventory is limited. People tend to stay long-term. These are legacy homes. These are estates. Now, Rumstick is another highly desirable area. You're a little closer to the village. You may get some walkability. You may be able to walk to the library or some of those shops, maybe even get some ice cream. Now, it has that classic New England neighborhood feel. You've got the tree-lined streets, you've got colonial homes, that strong sense of community. As you move towards Rumstick Point, it becomes a lot more private and a lot more high-end. Now, Hampton Meadows is kind of a go-to for families. It's got a bit more of a suburban feel, a little more space, strong neighborhood feel. You've got access to Palmer River. It's known for being quieter, less through traffic. It's also one of those areas where you might find it slightly more approachable in terms of price point, relatively speaking for Barrington, of course. Now, Bay Spring and Anawamscut have a different energy, more eclectic, more coastal, a little more laid back. You've got water views, you've got gorgeous sunsets, a mix of older homes. This area really has become increasingly popular, especially for buyers that want to get into Barrington kind of at a slightly lower price point. I love the Bay Spring Community Center. It really reflects the whole vibe. It's local, it's connected, it's very community driven. I've actually performed there a few times over the years. Now, West Barrington is great for commuters. You've got easier access in and out of town. You've got proximity to 114. You're near the Rhode Island Country Club. And this is a strong option if you're balancing kind of that commute with the lifestyle. And then, of course, there's the town center and the harbor area. If you want walkability, this is where you look. You can walk to coffee. You can grab some food at the deli. You can hit the bike path. You can be close to the water. Homes here in Barrington in general hold their value, but I think extremely well right here because of that convenience. Now, one thing I always tell buyers, Barrington is small, but those micro locations matter a lot. Being near the bike path, being able to walk to school, being close to the water, those things can significantly impact both your price and the demand, but also how you feel about it. And your budget is going to be the primary driver, but choosing that right neighborhood is also really important. And that takes local insight, but it also takes you spending a little bit of time just getting there, roaming around, checking it out. Okay, now let's address a few questions that people don't always ask publicly, but I get these questions all the time, and I know you're thinking it. Is Barrington a little affluent? Yes. Are there some people who fit that particular stereotype? Sure, but there are also really genuinely kind, community-oriented people here. Will you feel like an outsider? New England in general can feel a little reserved. People are a little crusty, but once you're in, honestly, you're in. And there's a lot of folks that are relocating here who will connect over that. And there's plenty of ways to get involved, especially in an area like Barrington. You've got lots of events, you've got schools, you've got sports, community spaces. Lots of folks have dogs. Is it too quiet? Well, it depends on what you're comparing it to. But here's something that people don't always realize. Warren is just 5 to 10 minutes away. So if you're looking for something that has a little bit more of a vibrant downtown life, more to walk to, Warren's the place to go. It's got great creative energy. I love Warren. So you get the stability of Barrington, you get the schools of Barrington, and then you also have that option to tap into something that's a little bit more lively whenever you want. And then you can also head to Bristol. You can also head to Newport, and you can also just jump 20 minutes north and head to Providence. So Barrington really is such a great location and central to a lot of really great areas. Now, before I wrap this up, I want to go over a couple more things, some practical things that you've got to know as well. Because Barrington, it's coastal, so flood zones can come into play. Even some areas that you wouldn't think are in a flood zone may be in a flood zone. Not every home requires flood insurance. Obviously those waterfront properties, but there's also some low-lying properties that might. This is something we're always going to check early. We're going to use FEMA flood maps. We're going to ask the right questions. Now, it's not a deal breaker, but it is part of buying smart in a coastal town. You've got to know what you're getting into. Now, just to bring it back to the market, homes are averaging about 30-ish days on the market right now, still moving relatively quickly. Homes go under contract within the first week, maybe the second week. The best homes, those that are updated, well located, priced right, those are the ones that are going to move quickly, and we're going to still see multiple offers. Like I said, inventory is limited, turnover is low. This isn't a bargain hunting town. It is a stability town. So is Barrington worth it? Well, if your priorities are schools, community, long-term value, it is one of the strongest choices you can make in Rhode Island. But if you want nightlife, newer homes, more space for your money, you may want to look elsewhere, and I can help you to narrow it down. And I'll leave you with this. Barrington was actually the last dry town in Rhode Island until 2011. This town moves at its own pace. It's intentional, doesn't chase trends, and doesn't care what you think. And that is exactly why the real estate market here has been so consistent over time. So if you're relocating and you're trying to figure out whether Barrington or another town in Rhode Island fits your lifestyle and your budget, well, that is exactly what I help people to do every single day. All you have to do is reach out, and I'm happy to help you build a strategy that actually makes sense for you.